live anyway.
Yeah, see what happens. It might not let you if there's a playback error.
Okay. This
Go
thing
for it.
tells me I'm live. This thing
Okay.
tells me I'm live. I guess we're live. Sorry.
Perfect.
Okay, well, hello everyone. I should just quickly introduce myself to anyone that's around watching. So I'm Alison Moore. Hello everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to anyone out there, wherever you are watching. And today I have the fabulous Matthew Essick with me, Golf Croquet World Champion. How cool is that? Thank you for coming.
Of course. Happy to be here. Happy to be here.
And how cool is it to have that title?
Very cool. I did not expect it. Obviously I hoped for it, but it was not an expectation going into the event. When I played in the AC Worlds in 2020, there was an expectation to be, among the last few players. Whereas the GC, I just haven't been playing golf croquet that long. And so I wanted to compete, and I knew I could play well, but I did not expect to make it that far, much less win the event. And so it feels really good, and kind of really, ignited my interest into GC moving forward. So it's been great.
So you're going to be an official dual coder, as we're saying what they are now.
That's right. That's right. I never thought I'd say that, but I think I'm headed in that direction.
The thing with golf croquet, I love watching golf croquet. I can't play it. I don't have the right attitude. I don't have the right temperament. But love watching it. And now we've got all this live streaming that goes on all over the world. You can see so much of it, which is amazing. And I think basically it really has brought golf croquet to the spectator world. Yes.
And golf croquet, I think you would agree. I think moving forward, if croquet is to grow and get a following as far as spectators, I think golf croquet is going to be the game that draws the interest. We as croquet players enjoy watching AC, but if you grab a random person off the street and tell them to watch a game of AC, they're going to be bored out of their mind. Whereas a game of GC, they can learn in 5 to 10 minutes, and they're going to have interest and realize what good shots are and what the players are doing. Whereas AC, it takes a pretty extended amount of time to actually understand what the players are doing and what they're trying to accomplish.
Definitely, 100%. Yeah, I mean, it is really. It's not an easy game by far. I don't think we should put any illusions out there. It's a very difficult game, but it is easy to pick up when you're watching, and to get the idea of where you're trying to go. Now, before, I've got lots of questions for you, and I've got some questions that people have sent in already. We've got some hellos on the chat here. But first of all, I'm going to try something new. I've not done this before. I want to show you a clip. Okay, so hopefully I'm going to show you and the world this quick clip here. So if I show this, we're going to try. Can you see this?
I can. It looks great.
Okay. So hopefully the audio will come through, but you can see what's going to happen. Oh, we love that. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. Go on. How does it feel? How did that moment feel?
Really great. There's a lot of players that don't show much emotion, that just, they look like, the first person that comes to my mind is Robert Fletcher. Robert Fletcher is somebody that you have no idea whether he's playing the best croquet of his life or if he's having the worst tournament he's ever played in. You have no clue. And Robert Fulford is another one, you just don't really know. based on, their mannerisms and how they react. And I've always been somebody that you can watch me and you don't have to see the shot, based on what I'm doing, whether it was a good shot or not. It kind of, all of that put together, coming to, the end there and making that shot. And, it just all came out at once kind of thing. And so just really excited for I played in the World Championship in 2020, like I said, against Reg. And I had a goal of getting to the final. I reached the final and kind of took a deep breath, where it's like, okay, I've done what I wanted to do to get here. I won last match. I'm going to try to give it my all and try to win this. But I don't want to say I took it for granted, but I kind of did, where I was just happy to be in that moment and happy to be in the final that I wanted to get to. And so, the morning of the GC Worlds, I had a lot different approach mentally, as far as, this is nowhere close to over. I have 3 more games to win. I treated that just like I would the first round of the knockout, where, win this and you can advance, that kind of thing. And so I didn't approach it as, okay, I'm in the final, I've done what I've come to do. It was more of just, I want to win this thing. And so, I try to not put a lot of pressure on myself, but I do. And, it's all of that, it's a dream come true kind of thing. But all of that kind of coming out at once was that reaction. So, but it feels awesome.
I was there. It was great. We all felt that reaction. I think it was amazing to be there, amazing to see it. And you had an amazing run up to it as well. They were great matches along the way. So congratulations. I think I've said it a million times, but there you have it. So I want to ask you about confidence. Okay. You are a pretty confident player. You're pretty attacking, whether it's GC or AC. We see that quite a lot. For players out there that are trying to improve, players out there that aspire to be better than they are, or aspire to be a world champion, whatever your aspirations are, what do you say to that? How do you find that confidence? How do you build it? How do you practice it? Can you practice it?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that I've always been an aggressive player. I learned croquet from partially my family. My family played croquet, but Danny Honeycutt, who a lot of American croquet players know, and even some international croquet players have heard the name. He has represented the U.S. on multiple teams, and I was fortunate enough that he grew up, or he lived 2 minutes down the road from where I grew up. And so he gave me plenty of lessons. He gave me plenty of pieces of advice, and I got the opportunity to play with him a lot when I was younger. And so Danny, if you know Danny, is an extremely aggressive player. And so I think that kind of was passed along to me, kind of thing. And then, I built on that as I've gone. But as far as improving in it, I really think that, it sounds cliche, but I think your practice and your preparation kind of goes hand in hand with your confidence, where if you've put the time in and that you've put the time in to hit those shots and you're capable of hitting those shots, regardless of what the moment is, it's just another swing. It's no different. It's obviously the nerves are there, and you get that feeling that this moment matters more, but it's still hitting the ball and hitting it in the center, and making the same swing you've made hundreds of times and thousands of times maybe. And so I try to just throw it back to the preparation that I put in. I was always a player that had the gift of athleticism, and I didn't really practice that much as a kid. And as far as croquet goes, and before the 2020 Worlds, that was for me. I mention that a lot because that was a real turning point in my croquet career, because that was the first event that I knew going into the event that there was no one who had put more time in than I had before that event. I had put in months and months straight of practice that I had never done prior. And so, it was the first time I knew that I had prepared myself for an event of that caliber. And so once I performed well in that, I realized that, hey, if I just put some time into this, then, there really is, I can reap the benefits of it basically. And so, I tried to do the same thing before the GC Worlds. And I'm fortunate enough to work in an occupation that I have availability on a croquet lawn and have the availability to practice. And so it really makes it easier on me, even though I don't do it much when I'm, between tournaments. But before a tournament, I really try to lock in and really focus on practice and really work on my game. So I think it's just preparation, is to answer your question.
Okay, before I carry on, I'm going to change this view to gallery view because I've realized that they can only see one of us at a time. So now they can probably see both of us, maybe.
Perfect.
Only because I was hiding because I was busy reading a million other things at the same time. Okay, so let's talk about practice and the job that you have. I kind of, a croquet pro.
Yep.
Do you not think it's kind of cheating? I mean, you get to play all the time.
Yes. But the one thing I will say is, for anyone who has any job of any type, when you get done with your job, the last thing you want to do is stay and then practice, or stay on. For me, if I get to the croquet lawn for work at 8 a.m. and then I get off at 5:36 p.m., it doesn't sound great to stay an extra hour and a half, 2 hours to practice, even though it's necessary. I've been there all day, and so there's some days that are a lot harder than others. But before an event, I think it makes it easier to tell yourself, hey, I really need to put this time in if I want to have a chance to compete. So it's somewhat of cheating, but at the same time, it's there is some times where it's harder than others to make yourself practice.
I genuinely tell people, if they want to improve, one of the best ways to improve is to look into coaching. So assist on another coaching course, maybe even take your coaching exams here, which is what we have here, because once you start explaining to somebody else, keep your head down, the simple things, or where you want your placement balls to be, etc., actually that starts to drill it into your own head. And so even on a basic level, being a coach or croquet pro, technically it's got to help.
It does. There's a lot of things, Allison, that I notice I'll tell someone else to do, and I really harp on certain points. And then I think to myself, am I doing these things that, am I actually doing the things that I'm teaching? Because, it's easy when you've hit enough shots and you've played enough croquet to just kind of go through the motions of your swing. And, you don't really have many swing thoughts. You're just swinging the mallet. And I think it's important to take some time to kind of, dissect your swing and think about what you're doing well, what you're not doing so well, and try and focus on the things that you're struggling with. One thing that for me that I really have to focus on with practice is, and I think this is hard for a lot of players, is to actually have productive practice. I actually have to focus really hard, because for me, it gets really easy just to swing and not, just hit the ball. I'm out there, so I consider it practice, but it's not truly helping you unless you're treating it like you would a match or a serious event that you're playing in. And so that's one of the things that I struggle with, is there's some days I do really well with that, and I really feel like I walked away and I had a really good practice. And there's other days where I feel like I was just kind of going through the motions and I was just out there. And so there's a big difference there, I think, between, just hitting the ball and having productive practice.
There's a lot of viewers out there who won't be in America. We don't have croquet pros.
Yep.
What does a croquet pro do?
So we have, let's think about that for a second. I think we have around 8 to 10 croquet pro. There's more than that, actually. It's probably 10 to 15 croquet pros in the United States. And we teach croquet just like, a coach would do or an instructor would do, but it's also running the program at that club. And so, a lot of us work at country clubs that hire us to basically run their program and develop croquet, grow croquet, and try and get more players from within the club to play croquet. And so, that is running club tournaments, that is, setting up inter-club events, setting up stuff between other clubs in the area to play against. And so a lot of these places that we go to work, they don't have something already set up between clubs and within their own club as well. And so our job is to basically grow that and promote that within that club in that area. And so, it is teaching. Yes, absolutely. It's the majority of my job, but it's also a lot of organizing events and things of that nature within that club or within that area. So it's different for me than for a lot of our pros throughout the country, because, I work at 2 clubs here in Orlando, and the majority of the pros have one club that they spend all of their time at. And so that's, their one thing, whereas I'm at one club 3 days of the week, the other club 3 days of the week. And so, I have to split my time between the 2. I have to, basically work out how they reciprocate between each other. And, all of that is different than other pros in the United States. So, but I really enjoy it. I've had a lot of fun doing it. So,
but it's not just coaching, is what you're saying. There's
no, it's definitely not.
I think is what I think is what I thought, and I think is what a lot of people think. A croquet pro just kind of rocks up, coaches for the day, swings a mallet.
Yep.
And that's it. Goes home again.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you in Orlando, it's basically, I do 6 clinics per week that the members come to, and they have the option to, and I have a schedule for that week that, okay, this week we're going to talk about, and so the majority of my coaching is golf croquet. Let's start there. The majority of it is golf croquet, especially here in Orlando. Up in New York, where I spend my summers, I do a little bit more American rules croquet. And I do very, very little AC coaching. There's just not a huge interest from the members that I teach in AC. But basically, I do these clinics that are on golf croquet, and we have, the focus for this week is distance control. And so all my clinics will be tailored to talking about how to, how to improve your touch, how to improve your distance control on clearing shots, back ball control and things of that nature. And so I try to do each week is a specific focus. And then we do different things within that focus, but each week has its own, certain thing that we're trying to focus on. But it's definitely been fun. I think that the New York side of things has really changed my perspective on it, because I do a little bit more American rules there. And, golf croquet, you reach a point, in my opinion, everybody has their own opinion, but in my opinion, I think you reach a point where you know most of what you're trying to do. It's just how well you can execute it. Whereas American rules and association rules, there are so many layers of things you can learn. And so I think your strategy in, let's use AC for an example. Your strategy and what you're trying to accomplish in AC starts at one level. And then as you improve, you then gain a whole new area that you're trying to explore. And then you step up another level, and there's a whole nother area. And so I think golf croquet, is kind of, I don't want to say it's capped, but there comes a situation where you're really, what to do, how well can you execute it? Whereas AC, you're always learning more. I mean, even when I go to tournaments now, there's, I'll give you an example. We went to the MAC, and for the people who understand what I'm saying, a new standard leaf, someone picks up the hoop 2 ball and they shoot the A-box shot. And, what I've always done when they miss the A-box shot is to rush that opponent ball down near hoop 3, send it over to hoop 2, hit the partner ball, and then rush the opponent ball at hoop 4 to 1. And the English team was tapping the opponent ball, cannoning partner over to 1 as they approached the hoop 4 ball. And it's something I just never seen in my life. And, when I first saw it, I was like, looks pretty difficult. And then as soon as we left, and I tried it. I was like, this is amazing. I mean, how have I not seen this before? And so, even, me and my teammates as, top level players in the United States, there's things that we're learning every single tournament. And I think that happens a lot more frequently with AC than it does with GC.
Are you learning stuff or are you stealing stuff?
Combination of both. We'll call it learning, but it's definitely stealing.
We'll call it learning. That's fine. That's fine. So, because I've got you here, can you explain to a lot of people that I know will be watching this, what is American rules? We don't have this, clearly. But it comes up a little bit. It'd be good to know.
Yeah. So some of the English players get a chance to play American rules when we play Solomon trophies over here. The day, we call it the President's Cup, the day before the Solomon starts. And so it is very similar to AC. There's a couple of major differences. One is order of play. So in AC, of course, you get to choose either ball. In American rules, it's just like GC, where it's your blue, red, black, yellow color order. And the big difference is deadness. So we have a board, we call it a deadness board. And basically, in AC, there's no such thing as carryover deadness. When your turn ends and your next turn comes up, you're clean on every ball again. In American rules, if let's say you hit all 3 balls and you fail your hoop, you cannot hit either of those 3 balls again until you run that hoop. And so it's a lot more of a thinking game as far as you get in situations that you would never get in AC, because AC is always attack, because you're always clean. And so you're never going to see someone in AC join up in a corner and just hang out in that corner for multiple turns, because if they do, you're going to go attack them and try to build a break. In American rules, if you're dead, you can't attack. And so you're going to see a lot of situations that aren't common in AC. And so I think it has its benefits as far as the thinking side of things, and you get in situations you're not used to. But it also, the one negative and the drawback that I don't like about American rules is it really discourages break play to those players, because mistakes are punished really hard. And if you're trying to run a 4-ball break and you miss a hoop, you might not go through that hoop the rest of the entire match because you're dead. And your opponent's goal at that point is to keep you dead so that you can't go through your hoop and you can't build a break. And so, I actually, I do a lot of coaching with American rules where I do not use carryover deadness to get these players in the frame of mind of attacking and going for things. And then basically once they learn those skills, we add the deadness back to try and get that feel of what the actual game feels like. But what else is there? You mark it in 9 inches instead of a yard. So the balls are all marked in 9 inches. If you hit a ball and it goes out of bounds on your Roquet, you're not ball in hand like you are in AC. It has to stay in bounds. So one of the things that, exactly. One of the things at the top level, I do a lot of teaching of this, by the way. I do not do a whole lot of playing of American rules. I enjoy teaching it. I'm not a big fan of playing, especially at the top level, because, there's no peeling. I mean, you can, but there's no reason to, because when you run all your hoops and you set your leave, in AC, they can play either ball and they have a lift. In American rules, when you score one back, they get a clearing. So they get to clear one of their balls deadness. And since you can't hit a ball out of bounds, what people do, and what ball is playing next, you can just, let's say blue runs the break. They put red on the entire opposite end of the court. They set the break for black, and they put the 2 balls that you can see. They're still wires, but they put the 2 balls that you're visible on right next to the boundary. So you're going to have a 35-yarder and you can't move the ball more than 9 inches.
Okay.
And so it's almost, we call it basically an impossible leave to hit. And so then you have to watch your opponent basically run a 3-ball break for 10, 11 hoops, and then they win the game. And so it's a really good game until the players get good enough where they're not going to break down at a high rate. And then at that point, it's truly just who wins the opening. And, AC has the benefit of your lift shots where you can get back into the game, and American rules just is lacking of that. And so,
certainly at advanced level in AC, at handicap level, it's still that sort of, if someone can do 12 hoops and a good leave and you don't hit and you haven't got any bisques or whatever, then it's that kind of game still. But the idea, I mean, at least you can have a go at your 25 yarder and
exactly. You feel like you have a chance, and
yeah,
you can take any player in the world and give them a 25, 30 yarder and say, don't move this ball 9 inches. And they're not going to hit it at higher than 5%. There's just no way. And so it's not, once the players get good enough, you run into a lot of those problems. Now, that being said, people still break down and you still get in situations that, you wouldn't expect out of top players, but if the game goes like expected, it's all about who wins the opening. And so I enjoyed it. I've played in a couple of American rules tournaments over the years. I actually learned that game first. I learned American rules, then AC, then GC. And so I really liked it when I was younger. But once I learned American rules, you know me, I'm all about being aggressive. Once I learned association rules, I was like, all right, let's leave American rules behind. I like this AC game a lot more. So I've really grown to like AC the most out of all the codes.
I've just seen a message from Chris Barley. It says, do you regularly play with bisques in England? Which I will respond to very quickly. We do, especially at club level, because there's a lot of handicap games. So I'm a handicap -1.5. If I'm playing a handicap 10, they would get 11.5 bisques to use against me. And so at club level, I play quite a lot of handicap because I think it helps my club members improve by playing somebody like me, but they have these bisques, the extra turns to keep their break going. So technically, it's a similar sort of thing to what you're doing with your when you're coaching people. You're changing the rules slightly. Okay, you're not giving them extra shots, but you're taking away the deadness to try and improve their skills. Essentially, this is what handicap play does. The point of handicap play is to level out the game of AC between players, and technically you should be winning 50% of your games. If you win more, then your handicap needs chopped.
That's right.
and that's fine.
To promote Allison a little bit here, Chris, we appreciate the comment. If you want a really good video on this, Marcus Evans and Allison did an interview last week that is really good on handicap play. And so I got a chance to watch that, and they basically go over the all of the handicap that's used in England and in other parts of the world, and how croquet uses a handicap. And it's a really good interview. So
thanks. Yeah, Marcus was brilliant. He was absolutely brilliant. And I really enjoyed talking about it because I think don't get me wrong, it's great to have the world champions here, and I appreciate all of you joining me. But it is nice for the other thousands of players that aren't quite at that level that would like to play a different, their kind of croquet, and to learn a bit more about it. So while we're on the topic, I was just curious, have you played Ricochet or Gateball, any other of the mallet sports that exist out there?
So I've watched some videos on Gateball. Ricochet I've heard of. It's crazy. It's a lot of fun to watch. And one of my favorite parts is the fact that they have a coach out there because of, the time restraint. They have whatever, 10 to 15 seconds, whatever it is, to hit the ball. And so basically they don't have enough time to think about what they're doing. It's just that guy, his sole purpose is to tell them where to go. And I really enjoyed watching some of those videos. I haven't watched a whole lot, I'll be honest, but it is interesting. And, one thing I think that, like we said earlier, everyone has an opinion, but one thing that I think we should add into either GC or AC is some kind of shot clock, just to speed up the pace. I mean, it's really can get ridiculous. And obviously some shots take more thoughts than others, but you can get timeouts if you want to say, all right, I need to actually think about this. But a certain clock just to keep everyone moving, I think would be very beneficial.
We play a bit of speed croquet here, and it is great fun. So I have a question which was sent in to me by Alex Verge. And this was a couple of days ago, but timing differences mean she can't tend to watch us live. She says Matt uses 2 different grips. could you ask him basically, why do you choose which one? How do you choose which one you're going to use, and why?
So it's definitely changed over the years. Especially if I think back 2 years ago, I was using a lot more Solomon than anything, and AC and GC have their differences as well. So, when I play GC, I only shoot hoops with Irish grip. I feel like it's my best hoop shooting stroke, no matter, unless I'm hitting one really hard at a severe angle, I'm going to play the hoop Irish. And so that it's just my most comfortable swing for a hoop, and at that pace that I think is necessary to run the hoop at the highest percentage. But the majority of my choice is based on pace, not necessarily distance. Sometimes there's a gray area there, and I'll decide, okay, I'm this far away, I need to go Solomon. But for me, it's basically everything 8 to 9 yards and closer is Irish. At that pace, a controlled clearing type thing. And then outside of that, I start to lean more towards the Solomon. But you'll see me if you watch. There's sometimes I'll hit a clearing from 15 yards and I'll hit it Irish. And it's not because, I'm not feeling good about my Solomon. It's more of I'm hitting that at a pace that I really don't have a good controlled swing with the Solomon grip. It's more of it has one power and that's all I can do. And I'm just going to go, full throttle. Whereas the Irish, I feel a lot more comfortable controlling the pace with the cast, because I do cast with Irish and I do not cast with Solomon. And so they're two completely separate swings. And, I've basically gradually increased the distance and the power that I can hit with the Irish. It started at about 4 yards and it's grown to now 8 or 9 yards. And like I said, there's rare situations where it's 10 to 15 yards where I'll swing Irish just because the pace is a controlled pace rather than a power swing. So I think it's power, to answer your question. Power is the what I'm deciding that based on.
Sure. I mean, I guess to an element though, there must be a point where it just becomes natural to feel it when you're in the zone, when you're at that particular shot. I can't believe you actually stand there and go, oh, which style shall I use for this shot?
No, it's definitely a feeling. I'm glad you said that. It's not, it's not that hard of a line. It's more of just a feeling of what feels comfortable with that swing and what I'm trying to do with the ball. One thing, just like we talked about, I said that I'd really shoot all hoops in GC Irish. I've started now in AC, any hoop that's within 12 inches, within a foot, I like to swing Solomon. And I like to just put a little bit of angle on it and swing. I have really good control with a really short backswing. Whereas with the Irish, when it's that short of a shot, I can't cast because of the wicket. And so I kind of like pop at it. And so I'll miss some of those short hoop shots because it's not the same free flowing cast that leads into the swing. And so I would prefer to shoot from a standstill and from that short of a distance. And my standstill Irish is not good at all. So I'd much rather switch to the Solomon because it's a standstill stroke. So it's, like you said, it's a feeling. It's not okay, this is this shot. It's more of what is comfortable for the shot that I'm trying to play. And, I don't really think about it. Every once in a while, you'll see me start with one and switch to the other because I don't feel really great standing over top of it. But most of the time, it's just whatever feels right and I go with it.
But essentially, it's a feeling that is backed up by the power element.
Correct. That's where the feeling is coming from. That's right.
When we're talking about feeling, one of the best things I love about your play, and this is generally association croquet rather than golf croquet, but when you are in the zone and pottering around and everything's working all smoothly, you have a little whistle to yourself.
Yep.
And we all know it. We're all like, okay, so basically we might as well just, go and get a drink or something. Your oppo will just go, do you know what? I might as well just go, I'm going to go and get a pint, okay? Because this is finishing. This TP is finishing. He's whistling. We all can see it. And it's amazing to watch you in that zone. You're one of the few, you said earlier that you wear your play on your sleeve, shall we say?
Yes.
So we can see everything when it's going right or wrong. This is just another one of those times when we can see that it's going right. Can you feel that? Are you consciously whistling?
No. I whistle a lot on a daily basis, to start there, but a lot of times I kind of get in that, like you said, I get in that zone and I'm not really thinking about it. Sometimes I'm humming, sometimes I'm whistling. It's just I am just in the zone, and I'm not really thinking about, what song I'm whistling or what tune I'm listening. It's more of just something that comes to mind, and I just kind of go with it. And you'll notice, like you said, if things are, if I've hit multiple shots where the balls aren't quite going where they're supposed to be going, I'm not going to be whistling. At that point, it's like, all right, I got to lock in here. This isn't, it's not going the way it should. But when everything just feels right, and I know that, I don't want to say I know that I'm not going to break down, but I just know that the balls are going exactly where they should be going, and everything just feels right. At that point, you just know that you're going to finish the turn, and that, I'm really in a comfortable state at that point. And so, no, it's not a conscious thought, absolutely. But I have noticed I do that, especially I watch videos back of myself, and I had no clue I was whistling the whole time. And so you'll actually get a laugh out of this, Allison. I've had once or twice in my life, it's not often, but once or twice in my life, I've had someone double banking with me say, hey, could you, I hate to be rude, but can you stop? I'm trying to play beside of you. I said, I'm sorry. I had no clue. I was whistling, or I would, I didn't even think about it or notice or think about the other person on the court. And so it's funny to get those interactions every once in a while.
I would not want to be that person. Oh, hey, Mr. World Champion, if you could just, stop whistling on my court, that would be really great.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, quick fire question. Who's your favorite player in the world? ACDC, don't mind.
As far as a person or as far as play?
Let's start with a person.
Patty Chapman.
And why?
He's just he's a really solid guy. He's just the same guy every time you see him. He's always looking to help. He's always looking to just be there for anyone that needs to talk or is looking for advice. And he kind of goes out of his way to be an ambassador of croquet, which I just really enjoy being around Patty, seeing Patty at tournaments and playing against Patty with, Patty in a doubles match, whatever it may be. He's just an enjoyable guy to be around. And so he's definitely one of my favorite people in croquet.
Favorite player to watch?
Ooh, that's a tough one. AC, it's gotta be Fletcher. He's just so solid. He's, he's another player that I think when you watch him approach the first 3 hoops in a break, whether you can go sit down and not watch anymore because the turn's over, or if he has a hoop shot that's longer than a foot, you have a chance, because when he's on, it's 6-inch hoop shots, 4-inch hoop shots, and that's it. And so he's one of those guys that when he's on, you just don't stand much chance. And GC, I wish I had an opportunity to see Edmund Fordyce play more. I've got to see him a couple of times, and I got to see him at the MAC play AC, and just sheer power. I mean, it's unreal. He's not a big guy, and he hits the ball so hard. So he's really one of my favorites to watch as far as the excitement. But I would say him and Muhammad Karim are probably 2 of my favorites to watch play GC. They're just really, really solid. And, I can't go without saying Reg. Reg is, he's one of everybody's favorites to watch because he's so precise and so perfect. But he's been so good for so long that it almost feels wrong saying Reg. I feel like I have to say somebody else because Reg is just the first person everyone's going to say. So I would say those people are probably up there as my favorites.
It's nice that you say about Paddy and how generous he is with his time and what a great ambassador for croquet he is. and actually it's similar with quite a lot of the top players. They're all really great. You're the same, you know, so generous with your time and just want people to come into the sport, want to encourage more people to be better or to try new things and to coach. And, you know, and I actually just think it's one of the most amazing things about our sport. We're very lucky to have that community.
That's right.
It's
a small community, but it's very, you know, the unity within the community is really, you know, different compared to other sports. And so, you know, it's one of the, like you said, it's one of my favorite things about going to these tournaments, you know, whether it's a world championship or a MAC or a Solomon, whatever it may be. You know, these people that you're seeing, they're competitors, but at the same time, it's you know, the excitement of seeing each other and getting that, you know, community between each other is really enjoyable.
Yeah, it really is. I see it all the time. I watch a lot of croquet. I love it. I can't get enough. So now let's talk about you just for a little bit.
Okay.
Now, I did a little bit of snooping on the ranking lists, and you're around about 5th world ranking, both AC and GC, which obviously means you are coming over here in July for the World Championships for AC, and you're going to be in it to win it.
Yep.
And of course with your ranking, you should be. What I am curious about is I looked at the amount of games, the ranked games that you have. Okay. And it's not huge.
No.
I mean, I've compared it, I've been a bit cheeky, and I've said, okay, Rob Fulford, for example, he's got 3,421 AC ranked games. Okay, now he's been playing a lot longer than you anyway. Okay.
Yep.
But in comparison, you've got 590.
Yes.
How did you get to 5th? I can't quite figure it out. I mean, I think it's quite impressive.
Thank you. It's, you know, I think it's hard in the United States to get a bunch of ranked games. And, you know, as you know, one of the hard things for me at this point is, you know, I go to a tournament and I know that, and I'm not looking for sympathy, I'm not complaining, but in the United States, when I go to a tournament, if I lose one game, I lose points. Yeah. I could go 13-1 and I'm losing points. And it's just because the players in the United States, I don't think their grades match their skill level because they haven't played enough games to raise their grade. And so it kind of is this uphill battle that I'm fighting to gain points. And so I think what has benefited me is that when I do get the opportunity to play, if you look at my track record for the 500 whatever games I've played, the opportunities that I do get to play against top level players from other countries, I perform well. And so I think I'm able to gain points on those players and go up the rankings. You know, the World Championship, I went in as in 2020, I think I went in as 20 or 25th in the world and went all the way up to 5 or 4 in that one tournament, just based on, you know, the wins I went through. You know, lots of people have gone through really tough brackets, but I played Dominic Nuns, Patty Chapman, Robert Fletcher, and Reg Bamford. And I think there was one more in there. Patty. No, that's right. Dominic Nuns, Patty Chapman, Robert Fletcher, and Reg Bamford. And so, you know, those guys with the grades that they have, if you do happen to beat them, you're gaining loads of points. And so I think the ascension was due to when I have had the opportunities to play against top players, I have performed well. And that's where the kind of the grade comes from. And so I'm lucky enough that in the United States, in the tournaments that I've played in, I've maintained that grade. And a lot of players, when they come back to the United States after they've gained a lot of points, they just drop, because unless you play at really, really a high level in the United States, you're going to drop in ranking. And so I just a good example is I just got back from the national championship 2 days ago. I won the doubles and the singles, and
Well done.
yeah, thank you. And I went 13-3, or excuse me, 12-4 was my record, and I lost 31 D grade points. Won the tournament, went 12-4, and lost 31 D grade points. Now, for me, I care, but at the same time, it's not a huge deal as long as I'm selected to U.S. teams and I get to play on those events and get selected to world championships. That's really what matters to me. But it's just tough that, I feel like I played really well in the event and I dropped. And the players that we have in the United States, they just don't get an opportunity to play enough croquet to raise their D grade to really where it should be. And so, I'm kind of the person that's giving them the points for them to climb up, kind of thing. And so it's unfortunate, but at the same time, it's just the nature of how big the United States is. It's hard for all of us to get to the same event with how widespread we are. And so
whereas here we've got, I've got 6 clubs within an hour of me. I'd love one down the road 5 minutes away, but
of course,
but we do have the opportunity.
Well, it's that, Allison, but it's also one of the major things. And, I think a couple of the English guys have come over, and I know Mulliner has, and experienced the American tournaments. And one of the huge things that is a drawback for us, I think, is that, when I've been to England, I played in the British Open and the Championship of Surrey, and not title events. And I think it was 35 quid, 40 quid to play in the tournament. And, I just got back from the national championship and it was $425 US to play in the event, to play in one tournament. Yeah. It's just crazy, the expense. And so not only do we not have a lot of events, but the events are really expensive. And so a lot of players just don't come because of the expense it costs just to show up. And so I think that's another one of the big things that a lot of people don't know about. And also, when they do hear it, you get an appreciation for the guys that do show up.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, I did not I did not know that.
Yeah, it's a big thing. And, it's the entry fees have gone up and up and up. And it's now getting to the point where, as you can imagine, a lot of players, it's hard for them to manage going to that event. Unless they're, one of your top 3 or 4 or 5 players in the country that really feels like they can win. And so it's unfortunate, but it's the reality of the situation. So.
Wow. Eye-opening. We are coming up to nearly an hour, and I try and keep it to an hour. Although I've been told that no one really cares because they just stop it and start it again tomorrow or later or whatever. So apparently we can chat forever. It's fine. Could you though perhaps leave us with, I don't know, like your best practice routine? Give us a good practice routine. What's your favorite?
So I do the same thing for AC events and GC events. I do one thing different with AC events. I'll mention that at the end, but I do a month straight of stat tracking. And so what I do is I shoot 57 yarders, and I shoot all these at a peg, not at a ball, but at a peg. I shoot 57 yarders, 25 10 yarders, and 25 14 yarders. And I track the stats. So it's 100 balls a day. I don't shoot any hoops, only at a peg. And I stat track how many I'm hitting each day. And I try to get to 70%. My goal is to be at 70% through all 100 shots, to hit 70 out of 100. And there's days I get there, there's days I don't. But I am going for that number. And GC, that's all I do. I don't shoot any hoops. I don't do any touch shots. It's strictly just 100 shots a day from those distances. And then for AC events, I do the same. The only thing I do different is I end each day with a straight double. I do a straight double to finish every day of practice, just so that, I want to get to a point in an AC tournament that I feel like I have 10 hoops to get 1 peel. And if I get 1 peel in those 10 hoops, I'm going to finish because I feel so comfortable with a straight double that I know that I'm going to complete it. And so that's the only thing I do different is do a straight double every day to finish my practice. And I like I said, I don't practice at all until a month before an event. As soon as a month before an event hits, for that entire month, I am doing that practice routine.
Wow, this is fighting talk. I can't wait to see who I'm going to get on next. Actually, I know who I might get on next, so we'll see what his reply is. Actually,
Okay.
I'm hoping that Mr. Mulliner will come and join me next month.
Perfect.
Chat. So I think I'm just going to have to ask the same question and see what he comes up with.
I used to do a lot of break play stuff, and I do think it helps, but at the same time, I think a lot of that is just you get in the tournament and you get a feel for it. The hard thing to get a feel for, especially in an AC tournament, is your swing. If you're missing lifts and you're not getting a whole lot of opportunities to shoot at them, it's hard to get in a groove with that. And so I really want to go into an event with a really comfortable swing on lift shots, so that the rest of the parts of my game will kind of develop throughout the tournament. Whereas the lift shots, I want to go in day one feeling like I can hit at a reasonably high percentage. And you're going to miss. I think that's one of my biggest teaching points as a pro, is that, there are going to be days where that ball looks like a thumbtack. You cannot hit it. And there's going to be days where it looks like a basketball. And you just have to understand that as a player, that there's good days, there's bad days, and trusting your swing, sticking with it, and just finding out what works best for you. So that's always my number one piece of advice.
So talking of things that can be really small or really big, the peg. What is with the peg? Okay, when you need the peg to be huge, it's really tiny and you cannot hit that damn thing. And when you just want it to disappear, it's always in the way.
That's right. I don't know why it's that way, but it is. It really is. I missed a peg out at this past tournament for the first time in a while. And, I looked at that thing for a while and I said, it's really not that hard. It's just not that hard to hit that peg. But like you said,
hit it all the time when you don't want to.
Exactly. I probably rushed into the peg more times in the tournament than I could even possibly imagine, but that's because I didn't want to hit it. So it's amazing how in the moments you don't want it to be big, it is, and when you do, it's not. So
we've got a couple of comments coming in to end our chat with. So Marcus Evans, he's suggesting a straight double of maybe scotch or vodka or something else.
Yeah, that's exactly what I meant. It's a great way to end your practice if you don't want to do a croquet straight double.
Definitely. And then Sam Cuthbert says, how much time are you spending on the lawn in that month? Good question.
That's a good question. That's a really good question. It takes me, so I normally put a board up behind the peg so that all the balls are right there. If you don't have that, you're going to spend a lot of time chasing balls around. And so I put a marker down at the 3 distances and I put a board behind the peg, and I have 16 balls. And so I hit 16 balls, go grab them all, 16, and go through that routine. And so I would say it takes each day 45 minutes to go through my practice routine. And keep in mind, I think a lot of players take a lot more time to go through their pre-shot routine than I do. So it might take other players more time to go through that same routine, but it's normally 45 minutes to an hour that I'm spending per day on the lawn. So it's, I would say, I guess around 25 to 30 hours in a month.
You mean because basically you whiz around the lawn?
If
you think we've missed your break,
that's right.
You're done. You've gone.
That's right. It's I always like to say I like to win fast or lose fast. I'm fine with both of them, but losing slow is the most painful thing in the world. So I'd rather get it over with quickly and just take my medicine.
Do you not think that's a bit of a gimme for other players? They'd be like, I know what's going to get him.
They can't play fast if they're sitting down, Allison.
Good point. Well, I think we could probably leave it on that thought.
There you go.
Play fast if they're sitting down. Everyone remember that one. I like it.
That's right.
Very good. Well, Matthew, thank you so much for coming along and having a chat. And I know everybody is super grateful, as am I. And we look forward to seeing you in a couple of months.
Very excited. And thank you so much for having me. It's great to see you again. I think I said this at the beginning, but please tell David and Ben I said hello. And
I will.
Looking forward to seeing you in a couple of months.
Yeah, we will do. Right then, we'll say bye to everybody else. Bye, everybody.
Thanks again. See ya.
Okay.